Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show.
Greetings, true believers. It is we, Niall and Nolan,
Excelsior!
back again, this time reviewing Venom. We'll be doing our usual thing, where we do a spoiler-free review. Not that there's a whole lot to spoil in Venom. I think it's pretty straightforward. There was no twists, really. Which that in itself, I guess, might be a spoiler, but it's Venom. Anyway, we'll be doing a spoiler-free part, giving you a spoiler warning and going more in depth into it.
Right.
So, without further ado, here we go. So, this movie has really bad ratings.
I don't think it deserves as bad as it is.
No, the IMDb rating of 7.1 out of 10, I think, is a little generous.
But it doesn't deserve the whatever the Rotten Tomatoes score is.
Yeah, it was like 32% or something like that as of this morning.
The movie is a lot better than I expected.
Yeah, the Metascore...
You not stop making noises?
No,
with your
can't be helped.
desk?
The Metascore from Metacritic is 35. It deserves better than the 35, but I don't think it deserves that 7.1 that IMDb is given. I'd give this a solid, like...
6-ish?
5.5 out of 10,
okay.
If we're going with the IMDb rating. Which, as far as I'm concerned, IMDb is, like, you know, the king of moviedom, of movie information, so I use their system.
Yeah, around there at least.
Yeah.
It's I was expecting a lot worse from the movie actually. The trailer looked pretty bad, and then what people were saying about it sounded pretty bad. Then when we saw it, it's not terrible. I was expecting a lot worse from it, and it's
definitely
not that bad a movie.
It feels like a early 2000s superhero movie.
Yeah, like,
where it's like, it's fine, but in a world where the Dark Knight trilogy and where
the MCU
exists, you know, it's just like we've come to expect so much more out of superhero movies.
Right. It would have if it had come out, over like 11 or 12 years ago, you've been looking at this going, this is a pretty good superhero movie.
Yeah. Now
it's just kind of an average superhero movie.
Right. I mean, it's still better than most of the stuff DC puts out.
Yeah. I have a few complaints. Sometimes the CG wasn't great.
Yeah, and I take issue with a movie like this having subpar CG at any point. There's no excuse for it. This is a high-budget superhero movie from a major studio with a bunch of Chinese money behind it.
Yeah, and also, little things. It was supposed to be, as I understand, it was supposed to be rated R, and then they cut it back to a PG-13. So they cut some things out of it here and there, and we'll get into the spoiler portion, but it shows with some, loose ends.
There's one thing in particular that's really where the hell did that go? That didn't resolve, and we think that there's a chance it got cut in the process of reducing it to a PG-13.
Yeah. Then also, let's see. I had something else I was gonna bring up, but I don't remember what it was now.
So this movie, it's set in San Francisco, which, if you know much about the Marvel universe, that's on the other side of the United States from where Venom normally hangs out. Because the Venom symbiote is a Spider-Man thing. It was on Spider-Man for a while, then on to Eddie Brock, and then on to Flash Thompson.
Yeah, he's the current Venom in the comic books.
Right. Who is also he's a Guardian of the Galaxy now too.
He was.
I'm
that line, you're way behind.
Yeah.
That line ended with him returning to Earth.
Oh, okay. Well, he was a Guardian of the Galaxy.
He was a Guardian of the Galaxy for a while in the comics, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
Flash Thompson was a... I guess it's not that important because it has nothing to do with this, but he was an Army Ranger who acquired the symbiote.
An all-around more interesting character, though, than...
Yeah, he lost his legs in the war, and then so the symbiote allows him to have legs and walk and eat and whatnot. He's
an all-around more interesting character than Eddie Brock, though.
Yeah, he is not remotely involved in this movie, though, so I'll just drop that.
But that's because since Flash Thompson was used in the MCU Spider-Man movie, Sony legally can't use it. So
of course, I couldn't imagine that particular iteration of Flash Thompson ever being a war hero.
No. But what I'm saying is, if they were to have gone, assuming that was the case, it doesn't, like, if they wanted to have used Flash Thompson, even if Flash Thompson were his normal kind of character in the current Spider-Man MCU setting, they still couldn't, like...
Yeah, but I mean, it makes more sense. Eddie Brock was Venom far longer than any other character.
Right.
So it makes sense to use him, but they couldn't have him be Spider-Man. He couldn't have Venom on Peter Parker first. So
they couldn't use any characters that already existed, that already exist in the MCU setting. So that's why they move him to San Francisco. And they explained that Eddie Brock used to live in New York.
Yeah, but it gives them an excuse to not involve Spider-Man whatsoever.
Right. But the other point I'm getting at with that, though, is something very interesting. There's nothing about this movie that says it couldn't be within the MCU.
Right.
Like, there's nothing about it that contradicts with, anything...
Ant-Man takes place in San Francisco.
It does, but it doesn't have to involve Ant-Man.
No. I guess not.
This
could be before or after.
I mean, this could be while Ant-Man's on house arrest.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Like, but there's nothing about this that specifically contradicts anything in the MCU, which I thought was interesting, because, that leaves that possibility open to them.
Which I understand is the reason why they changed it to a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
The rumor has it.
Well,
that was a requirement to leave that door open for joining up with the MCU.
Yeah, so from what I understand is that, like, per Sony's licensing of Spider-Man, something about it that they can't, like, if they made an R-rated movie, they would completely lose any and all rights to using Spider-Man as a character in anything.
Mm.
I think they might be thinking, hey, when the MCU's wrapped up, maybe we can be making Spider-Man movies again.
It hasn't worked before, so...
I agree. They most financially successful Spider-Man movie was the one that they did as a team-up with Marvel Studios, and it took place in the MCU. Now, I really think Venom would have benefited from being in the MCU, personally. It would have made the backstory of how Venom got to Earth way better.
Yeah, they would have made more sense. They could have done stuff with it that would have made more sense. And we'll get into that in the spoiler.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the opening of the movie, but still.
Right. So, there's that. And the next movie that Sony's doing is Kraven.
I think so.
Kraven the Hunter, which, I mean, I thought Venom.
I don't know how you. I was curious how you're going to do Venom without Spider-Man. I have no idea how you do Kraven.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced before going into this that Venom was enough character to make the whole movie about him. I really don't know how the hell they're going to pull off a Kraven the Hunter movie. It's like, yeah, but anyway, so. Yeah, this movie is... I mean, if you miss the opportunity to see it in theater, don't worry too much about it. If you wanted to see a movie this weekend, it's basically all that's out.
Yeah, and it's really not a bad movie.
It's not a good movie.
No, but it's better
but
than...
It's not a bad movie.
It's better than I expected. It's better than it looks. And if you just... looking for something to see that'll keep you entertained. As the movie is actually pretty funny in a few parts. There's like some jokes, and it's mostly The symbiote is what's funny.
Yeah.
It's but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's pretty much all we can say about this without spoiling it, because the specific nitpicky things that we're gonna complain about are potential spoilers. So
Right.
So we get to move on.
Yeah.
All right. So spoiler warning. Henceforth, there will be spoilers. So there's a rule in cinema, and I guess it's in just playwriting in general, a term referred to as Chekhov's gun.
Well, it's initially a literature thing.
Yeah, literature thing. That's what it is. But it really comes up in movies a lot. But why don't you explain what it is, Nolan?
So, a Russian playwright by the name of Chekhov, I can't remember his first name. He wrote down like rules for writing, and one of them was if you show a gun hanging on the wall in the first act, you have to shoot it by the third act. Otherwise, you just get rid of it. There's no point in it being there. You don't bring anything up that you're not going to use later. And so that's especially important in movies. Or rather, I don't know if it's more important in movies, but you find violations of this in movies more often than books because books get edited more. You know, there's usually like you have a writer and then an editor reads it and then it goes back and forth. In movies, when you cut something out, there's not really an option to go back and fix things that get cut out. A lot of the time, so things just get cut out and earlier scenes get left in and you wind up with these loose ends that never get tied up.
Yeah.
And this movie has
it has a Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
So Eddie Brock's a investigative journalist, and he's in the movie. He's supposed to go interview Riz Ahmed's character, Carlton Drake, who is he's like an insane Elon Musk, like an Elon Musk with zero conscience.
Yeah, who also decided to go into
pharmaceuticals. So, but he also has a space program.
He also has a space program.
So to tell you the level of insanity of this guy, he sent a space mission out. Like he developed the space program because he's determined that going out into space and exploring things, and I'm pointing up in the air, I guess for Nolan's benefit because you're not going to see this.
He's pointing towards space.
Towards space. You go up into space and there you explore and you find shit and you bring it back and that'll like cure cancer or something.
He also thinks that within one more generation, the human race will have like wiped itself out.
Yeah, which is
through global warming and overpopulation.
Hyperbole to say the least.
Yeah.
But
overpopulation and global warming and disease and all that.
I mean, I'm fine if all that is his motivation, but one generation
is real soon.
Yeah. But anyway, so
I mean, if he had come out and he would have sounded less insane if he was like in 10 generations. Like, okay, I can maybe believe that.
Yeah. But anyway, so and that's how the symbiote suits end up on Earth.
So no one brings up how amazing it is that he has a spaceship that can launch from Earth, go to another planet, land, retrieve some symbiotes, launch from that planet, and come back to Earth.
Yeah,
and almost land, except the symbiotes like broke out and caused the ship to crash.
Yeah, and the symbiotes would have to be on Mars because, or maybe Venus, but like, cause like no other planet could you get to and back in that amount of time that makes sense. I mean, we have probes around Saturn that were launched decades ago.
So this isn't the Chekhov's gun, but it never says where the symbiotes come from.
So yeah, getting
within the comics, there is a whole planet that they just derive from. Everything on the planet is
a hive mind of a symbiote, and Venom is like he's managed to cut himself off from the rest of the hive mind, or something like that.
Or he's been gone so long he has been cut off naturally or something. Anyway, he's cut off from the rest of the hive mind.
Yeah. But anyway,
in the comic books.
And I would assume so is Carnage.
Yeah, I think so.
But anyway, so so Eddie Brock's doing an interview with the guy. He can't help himself. He knows that this guy's like up to no good.
Testing on humans.
And stuff. And his girlfriend is a lawyer working for a firm that represents this guy. And so he reads her emails and finds out that there's some people suing him for wrongful death cases involving that space mission thing. I think, right? Or just other wrongful death cases, yeah. Yeah. So during the interview, he brings this up, and his boss fires him from the news agency or newspaper. It's not a newspaper; it's like a news website or something.
Yeah, it's a big news agency.
Big news agency.
They have networks and whatnot.
His boss fires him. His boss is that dude that always hangs out in Pop's barbershop in that actor.
Oh yeah, the old guy with the little beard on his chin.
Yeah,
same beard.
Same beard. He might have filmed this while like having to go back to film for Luke Cage or something. But anyway, he fires him, and Eddie's trying to like convince him that like I know this guy is up to no good, right? And the guy's just sort of like,
you don't have any proof.
Well, he could buy our whole company with his pocket change and shut us down, so...
But, he also emphasizes, like, you need to have proof. You can't just accuse him.
Right.
In a news, on the news, you have to have proof to back your accusations up.
Right, so this doctor that's working for Drake hits a point where she can't handle the moral issues going on. And so she seeks out Eddie Brock to try to get the information to him so the information about this guy and his company can get out there. And so she sneaks Eddie Brock into the facility, and
he takes photos.
He gets photos of these homeless people basically that he's taking advantage of, that Drake's taking advantage of, and all this. And while he's being
in various states of living.
Yeah, in various states of living. But so that's how he gets the Venom symbiote on him. Is from someone else who's in there. And then later in the movie, Venom, like in the Venom form, he breaks into that dude's office and leaves his phone with all the video and pictures he took with a note saying, "Do the right thing." And
we never know if he does the right thing.
Yeah, there's never any indication of what happens.
The movie wraps up without us ever finding out if this information got out to the public, and Drake's company is...
Was it the Life...
The Life Foundation?
Life Foundation.
Or something like that?
Yeah, Life Foundation.
We never find out if, what happens to the company, if it's been shut down, if any legal action has been taken. We have no idea as the movie ends.
Yeah, and that's... Considering that was his motivation for getting involved in the first place, that's a pretty serious Chekhov's gun issue. Like that,
right.
That's a big fuck up, frankly. And we're pretty sure that it has to be a result of the cuts, because they went to a lot of effort for him to get those pictures and put those pictures in the dude's office. That was a whole thing. That was a pretty significant scene. And then just nothing comes of it. So I really think that it's a result of these scenes that were cut from the movie.
Yeah. At least I hope so.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that there's a screenwriter out there that would do that and just leave that open.
I'm looking at you, Jeff Pinkner.
Yeah. So that's one of my problems with the movie.
Yeah. Riot was cool, and they left the end of the movie open. They have Woody Harrelson there as Cletus Cassidy, who, if you're familiar with the comics, is the person that Carnage is symbioted to. I don't know if there's a word, he's bonded with him. He's in symbiosis with this Cletus guy who's a psychopathic killer. He's
right, but so is Carnage.
Right, and so is Carnage. So they leave it open for Carnage, and that's cool. I guess. But you cannot make a Carnage movie and have it rated PG-13. Like, Venom was bad enough. Carnage? There's no way.
I mean, yeah.
They literally cannot make a proper Carnage movie without it being rated R.
Yeah, it's just the violence that would have to be involved to really, like...
I mean, Carnage...
show off Carnage as a character.
Rips people in half and, like, eats them all the time.
See, there's a lot of instances in this movie where... Not a lot. Well, there's a few instances in this movie where Venom bites someone's head off, literally.
Yeah, and eats it.
And it's always like this cutaway shot, usually. Or it's strangely goreless decapitation.
Yeah, like, there's never any blood. I mean, there's people who get, like, completely skewered all the way through, including Eddie Brock at one point.
Yeah, there's no blood in this movie.
So that felt weird.
Yes, yeah, and there's a lot of violence that should be bloody, but there's not any blood.
I'm not sitting here like requesting a Saw level of gore or anything, but it's just really weird when there's zero blood from someone having something like 10 inches across shoved through their chest and then pulled out,
or someone literally having their head bitten off. No arterial spray at all.
Yeah. They all have really low blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Dangerously low blood pressure. They were going to die anyway.
Yeah, so really, you're just doing them a favor.
Yep. So, yeah, that's... Yeah, and those are some of the biggest issues with the movie. But this is a weird universe that Sony is doing, and I don't understand the motivation here, because Sony made so much money off of Spider-Man Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a pride... It feels like it's a pride thing at this point. Like, they've just determined that, you know, they could still hold their own with this.
But the weird thing, to make a series of movies about Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery... Without Spider-Man... I mean, Venom... It worked kind of for Venom, and Venom is a sort of character that, yeah, it can work, but I don't see it with...
I mean,
you know,
they've basically set up Tom Hardy to be the main character, I think, within this universe.
Yeah.
I'm just really hoping that...
So is it going to be Venom versus all these other villains?
I mean, it kind of makes sense with Venom, because Venom's at times kind of a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, so okay, we can work with that. No one else is. Kraven certainly isn't.
No.
So, who's gonna fight Kraven? You know?
Well, I mean, Kraven always thought that Spider-Man was like the ultimate prey, but maybe he'll think Venom is the ultimate prey and try to...
Frankly, Venom, I think, is more of the ultimate prey than Spider-Man is.
That's true.
So, there's that, but... And clearly, they want to make a Carnage movie.
Right.
And that makes sense for Venom to fight Carnage, because they're two symbiotes, and they've always been at odds with each other.
Yeah. Before I forget, there's a partially through credit scene. That's the is that the... So
that partway through the credits is the one where they show Woody Harrelson.
Okay, yeah. Then at the end of the credits, there's a big like preview for Into the Spider-Verse.
I mean, it's more than a preview.
It's a big...
It feels like it's just like 5 minutes edited from the movie.
Right, and so it's this... Yeah, it's not just like a preview. It's a sequence from Into the Spider-Verse. So if you're interested in that movie...
Yeah.
Stay till the end to see that. It's pretty
cool.
Good.
I'm excited for that movie.
Yeah.
And
it's looks kind of funny.
And Into the Spider-Verse to me is weird, because like it's such a weird... For mainstream audiences, it's a weird concept. This kind of shit happened all the time in the old Marvel comics, where you'd have like crossovers with other universes and stuff, and then, you know, there were Secret Wars where it all crashed together, mm-hmm. You know, and Deadpool was actually a pretty honorable character in the end there. But you know, for mainstream audiences, it's a really bizarre concept. And it's animated, which is the only way you can really do something like this.
Especially if you're going to involve Spider-Ham.
Especially legally speaking, because they can't use Spider-Man in a live-action movie.
Right.
So I wonder.
But if you're gonna use an anthropomorphic pig with Spider-Man powers, you kind of got to do it animated.
Yeah, Peter Porker, Spider-Ham. So, not to be confused with Spider-Pig, does whatever a Spider-Pig does.
No.
So yeah, that's weird, and it's so weird to me that they would. I mean, it's not weird that they would make this animated movie. It's something I could easily see them doing. What's weird to me is that it's getting a full-bore theatrical release, which I'm fine with.
It's the sort of thing that if like DC were to do it, it'd just be a straight to video thing, and DC does that all the time.
Yeah, they have a lot of those. In fact, the only one of those that I think made it to theaters was The Killing Joke, and that was like special limited, like one night only Fathom event.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I don't know. It's a weird choice on Sony's part. It feels like they're just kind of trying to prove a point, you know, by doing this whole Venom verse and the Into the Spider-Verse. Is it Into the Spider-Verse or Enter the Spider-Verse?
I think Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse. Like, it's weird. It just feels really bizarre choices on Sony's part. You know, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Spider-Verse movie looks cool though. Also, there was a lot of Chinese money in this movie.
Yeah,
it was Tencent. Who, like, everyone talks about Disney being the first like mega corporation and like getting to that cyberpunk level of power, which is completely false. It's absolutely going to be Tencent. So, but yeah, I think that's kind of all we have to say about Venom and the 5 minutes of Spider-Verse at the end of it.
Yeah, like I said, if you're at all interested, go see it. It's not a bad movie. And otherwise, if you're just kind of interested, maybe wait.
Yeah.
You know.
So, coming up next week, we have Bad Times at the El Royale, which looks really cool. I'm excited for that movie. And then after that, we're gonna see mid-90s?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a movie about your generation.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
So we'll probably see that. Also, that's the only thing coming out that weekend, October 19th. Apparently, this Halloween sequel, which ignores every other Halloween movie except the first one within its continuity, apparently it's a really great Halloween movie. I don't care for horror movies, so I'm not going to see it.
I'm not big on horror movies, but when I saw that it was actually a sequel to the first movie, I was more intrigued.
Yep. But then, I mean, there's nothing else really from the month of October. In November, we have Nutcracker on the Four Realms, which we'll probably see because it's Disney, which means we'll have to take our mom to see it.
But I'm not real excited about it.
Yeah. Also, Bohemian Rhapsody looks really good. That's another movie we have to take our mom to see.
Yeah.
Which I'm much more down to do that. Nobody's Fool finally comes out, which is cool because it means we can stop seeing that trailer.
Yeah, just obnoxious trailer.
Then we're probably gonna see The Grinch.
Yeah, maybe.
I think maybe Overlord looks interesting. So we might end up seeing that. We'll probably see a Fantastic Beasts. And we'll see Creed 2. And we'll see Ralph Breaks the Internet, which I'm not real thrilled about going to see. I love the first movie. So do you.
Yeah.
But, man, it just looks like they're getting internet culture so wrong. I mean, you can't make a PG Disney movie about internet culture and get it right.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but that week, wow, that's a busy week. Ralph Breaks the Internet, Creed 2, and Robin Hood.
Yeah, that looks like...
It looks like if you made a Robin Hood movie set in the same universe as that Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
Which I liked that movie, so... Did we review that movie? Did that come out before we started doing this?
I don't remember. I just know that our first review was Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
I don't remember what came after.
And then...
Like 65 other movies came after. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, that's pretty much what we got going for this month and next month. This month will be pretty light. Next month will be packed. So, and we've got some other stuff we kind of got planned in the pipeline coming up because we need content. So, be on the lookout for other stuff. If you just like listening to the sultry tones of my voice
and the dulcet tones of mine,
then be on the lookout for other stuff.
Our next caller is...
Anyway.
So the radio was...
Start explaining what the radio is. They still have those. People just only listen to them in their cars. So... Yeah, that's what we got coming up. Be on the lookout for other movie reviews and other just stuff from us. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Yeah.
All you got?
Yep.
All right. This is Everything's Bad, and we're signing out.
Bye.
Toodaloo.